Good afternoon, y'all. So let's take a look at lesson 21 and we'll look at our new vocab words. So, our first words are our root words. So we have grad or grade and gress, which both mean step. So let's look at our first word. Our first word is degrade, which has two meanings. So the first one would be to treat someone or something poorly and without respect. So if you say something rude to somebody or something like that, it could be, you could say that they are degrading. Or to make the quality of something worse. So a mineral or a chemical might degrade. Our next word is gradual. So gradual means moving or changing in small amounts or happening in a slow way over a long period of time. For example, erosion is a gradual process or is generally a gradual process that happens over a long period of time. Our next word is graduate. Graduate. So to graduate is to earn a degree or a diploma from school, college, or university, or to move from one level to a higher level. So you might graduate to a different belt color in karate, you might graduate from a university, things like that. Our next word is progressive. Progressive. So progressive means moving forward or using or interested in new or modern ideas. So there's a couple of different ways that this word can be used. When it comes to that first kind of definition, moving forward, a disease may be progressive, so it can be kind of a continuing thing. Or it could be using or being interested in new or modern ideas. So maybe a progressive idea about writing or about something along those lines. And our next word is regress. So to regress means to return to an earlier and usually worse or less developed condition or state. So there may be, sometimes with certain disorders or with certain diseases, people may regress in their abilities or things like that. Let's take a look at our next word. So we have our suffixes. And our suffixes are able and able, which both mean like can be done. So our first word is desirable. So desirable is having good or pleasing qualities or worth having or getting. So something could be desirable, an area could be desirable. Our next word is vulnerable. Vulnerable. So if somebody or something is vulnerable, they may be easily hurt or harmed, whether it's physically, mentally, or emotionally. Or it could be something or somewhere that is open to attack, harm, or damage. So a building may be vulnerable if they don't have a good security system or something like that. Our next word is visible. Visible. So if something is visible, it's able to be seen or easily seen or understood or known to or noticed by the public. So a sign, like a stop sign, has to be visible. You have to be able to see it. It has to be easily seen and easily noticed. Next, we have flexible. So flexible kind of has a couple of different meanings. So flexible, first of all, means that something is capable of bending or being bent. Right? So like a rubber pencil, right? If you've ever seen those bendy pencils, they're flexible, they can bend. Or a person who does gymnastics or dance may be flexible. They can bend certain ways. But it can also mean that something can be easily changed or that somebody is willing to change or try different things. So if you are flexible, you may be bendy, or you may be willing to try something else, really willing to maybe try a new restaurant. And our last word is reversible. So reversible means that it's able to be changed back to an earlier or original state, or something that's able to be stopped and not cause permanent damage or changes. Another meaning is that it has two sides that can be used, right? So maybe a reversible t-shirt that has a design on both sides, or something like a whiteboard could be considered reversible because it can be changed back to its previous state. So let's take a look at our next activity. So we'll look at our fill in the blanks. So we'll go through our words and I'll read them through one more time. And then I want you to take a minute and I want you to try to fill in those blanks on your own, and you can come back on or unpause and check your answers. So we have degrade, gradual, graduate, progressive, regress, desirable, vulnerable, visible, flexible, and reversible. All right, let's take a look at these sentences. So number 1, some mistakes are so bad that they are just not reversible. Number 2, Nancy was absolutely horrified when her doctor reported that she had gained 15 pounds in 6 months. It was a gradual increase, but it certainly amounted to a lot. Number 3, take probiotics daily to make yourself less vulnerable to illness. Number 4, there were only 3 people in the class of 1974 that did not get to graduate for one reason or another. Number 5, I always wear my neon green running jacket at night so that I am visible to drivers and other runners. Number 6, the most desirable outcome for a new film is to do well at the box office and be nominated for many awards. Number 7, Bill was bummed that his childhood radio flyer wagon had begun to degrade from being left out in the elements. Number 8, when planning a vacation, it is a good idea to have some activities in mind, but it is also important to be flexible to changes. The neighborhood party this year is going to be a progressive dinner party, so we'll have one course at each of the neighbors' houses or homes. And number 10, Jean wanted to make sure she didn't miss any of her personal training sessions for fear that she would regress to her former or weaker self. Let's take a look at the true and false. So I want you to take a minute and I want you to read those sentences on your own and decide if those words are being used correctly or incorrectly. And then you can unpause and check your answers. Alrighty, so number 11, the acidic rain began to degrade the car's paint. That is being used correctly. Number 12, the gradual cow refused to come in from the fields. That doesn't make any sense. That is not being used correctly. Number 13, Evie is a graduate of two different doctoral programs. So depending on how you use this word, it could be a noun or it could be a verb. So for our purposes, graduate is a verb. But graduate, which is spelled the same way, is a noun. So technically it's being used incorrectly, but either answer I would say is correct. So I would say either one of those you could say is correct. Number 14, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was very progressive for his time. That word is being used correctly. Number 15, the teams stopped play for a regress, then continued play. That is not being used correctly. Number 16, the most desirable spot in a theater is the center of the back row. That is being used correctly. Number 17, Malcolm felt vulnerable after saying I love you to Louisa for the first time. That word is being used correctly. Number 18, the scouts were totally visible despite hiding in their camouflage gear. That word is being used correctly since it says despite their camouflage gear. Number 19, her plans for the day were flexible except for a 3 o'clock appointment. That is being used correctly. And number 20, she brushed her hair, did a reversible, then went down for breakfast. That is not being used correctly. So make sure that you complete 3 other activities on your own and then take your quiz. I have a secret word for you today, and that secret word today is barn. So make sure that you have that written somewhere on your paper, and I will see all of y'all tomorrow.